Hey there, Matt Easton of Schola Gladiatoria and Eastern Antique Arms. So I'm going to talk about a fairly simple but rather important aspect of kukris. There's two new acquisitions I've got here. Now, one of the things with kukris is when you go round antique fairs, antique shops, military fairs, this kind of thing, and people want to see a kukri, they look at it like that and they think, wow, that's cool. I want to see what it looks like out of the scabbard. And do you know what? There's no particular problem pulling them out of the scabbard. They tend to come out, assuming that they're not rusty or anything like that and the scabbard's in okay condition, they tend to come out fairly easily. And you see these people pull the kukri out of the scabbard, and then you hang around because you think, they're going to have to put it back into the scabbard. Let's see what disaster ensues. Well, funnily enough, let's get to putting them back into the scabbard in a minute, but even before you get to put them back in, you have to pull them out, as I've just shown. There is something to watch out for. So I'm going to put it back in the scabbard off screen to maintain the suspense, of course. So you'll see that this scabbard here has got all of the leather intact on the front. Now that's where the cutting edge is, obviously, because a kukri's got the cutting edge on the inside. And a concave cutting edge, we'll call it. And you'll see that the leather is intact all on here. Now on very many, I was going to say old, but in even sometimes modern kukris, you'll notice the leather here is split. Be super wary if that's the case, because that means someone's messed up previously and you might mess up the same because of certain parameters. Perhaps the ratio between the width of the blade compared to the scabbard. The scabbard's a tight fit, maybe there's the wood of the scabbard has shrunk a bit, or the leather's shrunk, or some other factor. But what you must do when you pick up a kukri, now this is the bit, this is essentially the public service, public health and safety announcement. Big fan of health and safety, obviously me, do all my risk assessments and everything else, as you should. When you pick up a kukri and you're going to draw it out, now this does go for other swords and other knives and other things as well. When you're going to draw it out, if you know, assuming you know what a kukri is, you know that the cutting edge is there, don't you? And you know that the blunt back edge, as it were, the spine, is there. So when you go to draw it out of the scabbard, number one rule, push down towards the back. You know that this is a single edge knife. You usually know that with something like a Bowie knife or certain types of camping knives and stuff like this, choppers. If you know that it has one edge and one blunt, then push towards the blunt when you draw it out. But also importantly, and this is the thing that people often get wrong, they hold it like this. And I've been warned by people, I've never done it myself, I've been warned by people, but I have literally seen someone do this at an antique arms fair, hold it like that, and then pull out as if they were pushing the edge, as if they actually were pushing the edge towards the front of the scabbard. So think about that for a second. They're pushing the edge towards their own fingers, and the inevitable happened. Blood everywhere, and it was all very embarrassing and everyone was awkward, and the dealer who had warned the person or tried to warn the person pretty much as the customer was opening or unsheathing the kukri, to be careful, but they weren't, and they did everything wrong, and they cut their fingers open. I think they cut 2 of their fingers. Now, usually this is just a superficial cut, a little bit of blood, mop it up with some tissues, job done. But first of all, it's embarrassing, especially at an antique arms fair. You're supposed to look like what you're doing. But it's also annoying for the dealer, and potentially you could give yourself a very nasty deep cut. You might even, sever important bits of the insides of the workings of your fingers. So, first rule is when you unsheath the kukri, assuming you're picking it up, it's not attached to your belt, it's not your own kukri, assuming it's a kukri you found on a table or anywhere else, hold it like that, okay? Do not put your fingers around this way or that way or anything else, okay? Make sure everything is clear of the front, essentially, the cutting edge aligned part of the scabbard. Incredibly simple, but just do it, okay? Because 90% of people I see drawing kukris out of scabbards, many of whom should know better, don't do this. So hold it that way, and when you draw out, push the back, the blunt back, towards the scabbard as you draw it out. That will do 2 things. Number 1, it will ensure that you don't chop your own fingers off. But number 2, will also protect the scabbard. Remember, these are valuable objects. This is well, I haven't priced this one yet. This will probably be going up for sale, but antique kukris are not cheap things anymore. They're very popular, so their prices have gone up, and you don't want to be the one who's responsible. This scabbard, this is probably a cookery from probably the early 20th century, maybe a kind of World War One-ish era. So let's say it's 100 years old, probably is 100 years old. This scabbard has survived for 100 years. Do you, a complete cookery noob, want to be the one who's responsible for splitting that 100-year-old scabbard? No, you don't, so don't do it. And you don't want to split your fingers either. So maintain, preserve that scabbard nicely by pushing it back. Now, resheathing. It's the same in reverse. What you see, and wreath sheathing is a lot more difficult with the cookery than unsheathing. So first of all, obviously the point goes in the hole, okay? Pointy end in the other person, so simple. But what you need to remember the whole time is keep your fingers away from the front of the scabbard, okay? So hold the back and push the back, the blunt spine of the knife against the inside of the scabbard as you go up, and you have to remember to curve it. If I just hold it in front here, what a lot of people do is they push it in and then it gets a bit stuck, because you'll notice that point will often go into the back of the scabbard and get stuck. And so they start wiggling it like this. And the first thing they do is they split the mouth of the scabbard, the throat of the scabbard. So what you want to do is keep pushing that back edge against the inside of the scabbard, but then you have to turn the angle as you can feel the blade going up. And ta-da, perfectly sheathed. Okay, so three things really you want to avoid. No fingers over there, push the back of the blade towards the back of the scabbard, and don't allow the tip to dig into the back inside of the scabbard. You have to curve it as you go around. Okay, so follow the curve of the thing. So back edge in, sits on the back of the scabbard there, then slide in and curve, 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 in. Okay, let's do it with the other scabbard. So we've just picked up a new scabbard from the beginning. It's absolutely fine to hold it like this when you're not sheathing or unsheathing it, but once you're going to unsheath it, okay, then remember what to do. Get your fingers away from the edge, push towards the back, and pull at the same time, trying to follow the curve as you come out. Notice what I mentioned about doing the curve as you go in. It's less of a problem when you're unsheathing it, but you could still, and I have seen this happen as well, seen someone pull it out, and can you see that edge will naturally want to slice through the front of that scabbard. So again, if you want to preserve that scabbard, and this is perfect, it's got no splits whatsoever. In fact, this is a very, very nice cookery. It's got a horn handle, it's got it's even got some writing which I need to get translated actually on the blade, and it's got a silver, I need to polish this up, that's an actual silver end scabbard mount on there. But anyway, nice nice thing. I don't know whether I'll keep this or sell this at this point. It's very nice. And exactly the same thing. So you've unsheathed it, you've pushed towards the back and you follow the curve. Same in reverse. You put the tip in, push towards the back, push towards the back, keep your fingers away from there and follow the curve. Oh, this one's even a bit stickier, but that's the reason for that, just to explain briefly. The reason the blades get a bit sticky, that wasn't sticky in the wood or anything like that. It's because this blade is a little bit dirty. I haven't cleaned it yet. This is straight from another dealer, so I need to clean up this blade. Once you've cleaned up the blade, I would recommend leaving the blade a little bit oily. Okay, first of all, that will help preserve the blade and reduce oxidization, protect the edge, keep the edge nice and sharp as well, because oxidization on the edge can lead to bluntness. But in addition, it will assist the sheathing and unsheathing. And if the inside of that scabbard gets a little bit of an oily residue in it, that's no bad thing. It will help prevent damp getting in. It will help prevent, if damp does get in, it will prevent the blade rusting into the scabbard, which I've seen happen. I've had to actually break scabbards off blades before when they've rusted. And finally, it will assist with the unsheathing and sheathing. So remember, fingers away, push towards the back, follow the curve. Same in reverse, fingers away from the edge, push towards the back and follow the curve. If you do get a little bit stuck halfway in, then just give it a little wiggle and it should free itself. Okay, there we go. I hope that was relatively useful, and I hope that none of you chop your fingers off anytime soon. Cheers, folks. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe, follow us on Facebook. You can buy t-shirts through Spreadshirt, support us on Patreon, or follow us on Pinterest. Thank you.